Inside the White House, where thousands, it looks like thousands of people have gathered to celebrate the news.
Hello, this is Breakfast with Susanna Reid and Charlie State.
Osama Bin Laden is dead.
Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama Bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda, and a terrorist who's responsible for the murder of thousands of innocent men, women, and children.
US troops tracked America's most wanted down to a compound in Pakistan and say they have possession of his body.
David Cameron has said this morning that the news will bring great relief to people across the world.
In the United States, cheering crowds have gathered outside the White House to celebrate. Good morning, it's Monday the 2nd of May.
In other news, Britain tells the Libyan ambassador he must leave the UK after angry crowds destroy the British embassy in Tripoli.
And tributes have been paid to the boxing legend Sir Henry Cooper, who died at the age of 76.
Good morning. The breaking news this morning is the announcement by President Obama that the Al-Qaeda leader Osama Bin Laden is dead. He was killed by US troops in Pakistan after a ground operation based on US intelligence.
Osama Bin Laden was behind a number of atrocities, including the attacks on New York and Washington on September the 11th, 2001. He was top of the US most wanted list. Andy Moore reports.
It was a momentous statement that the White House has been waiting to make for more than 10 years.
Good evening. Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama Bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda.
Outside the White House, there were celebrations. President Obama said officials have been working on an intelligence lead for some time. Last week, they located the compound in Pakistan where Bin Laden was hiding. Last night, the operation to kill him was authorized.
A small team of Americans carried out the operation with extraordinary courage and capability. No Americans were harmed. They took care to avoid civilian casualties. After a firefight, they killed Osama bin Laden and took custody of his body.
Osama bin Laden was the world's most wanted man. He was regarded as the mastermind behind the September 11th attack on the Twin Towers, but he was being sought as early as 1998 for the bombing of 2 American embassies in Africa. After the invasion of Afghanistan, special forces came close to catching him in the mountains near Tora Bora, but he escaped the net. He was finally killed in the city of Abbottabad, about 30 miles from the Pakistani capital, Islamabad. Some reports said he was living in a mansion.
On nights like this one, we can say to those families who have lost loved ones to Al-Qaeda's terror, justice has been done.
Bin Laden may be dead, but the movement he inspired lives on, and Americans are being warned to beware of an upsurge in terrorist activity. Andy Moore, BBC News.
Our security correspondent Gordon Carrera is here now. Gordon, first of all, a few more lines coming in about the operation itself.
Yes, US officials are saying that 3 other people died in the operation that killed Osama bin Laden, and they said that one of them was a son of the Al-Qaeda leader. We also understand there might have also been a helicopter crash, an American helicopter crashed as part of the operation, although due to mechanical failure, which was then destroyed. But still the operation was successful from the American point of view in terms of getting Osama bin Laden, clearly.
So do you want to just take us through step by step what we know about the actual events themselves?
Yes, we're still obviously the details are still coming in. What we understand is that the US appears to have focused on this particular compound, which is in a kind of satellite town not far from the capital, Islamabad. They perhaps were looking at some of the couriers around Osama bin Laden. They identified them, they looked at their housing, they realised this was an unusual villa, an unusual compound with high walls. They started wondering who might be there. Last August they started really trying to use intelligence assets to work out what it was, and then eventually believed that it was Osama bin Laden who would have been inside this unusual compound, leading to that operation in the last week.
And Gordon, clearly hugely significant and symbolic, the death in a practical sense?
Well, it's interesting because, of course, he wasn't directly commanding attacks anymore, precisely because he didn't want to be caught. He was staying radio silent. He was not communicating with his followers. But still, the symbolic, strategic value is enormous because he was an inspiration to people. He was a figurehead to those fighting against the US. He was a symbol of what the US had failed to do in terms of capture him. So even if his operational role was limited, his strategic and symbolic role is enormous.
Gordon, for the moment, thank you very much.
Let's cross